This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to the first chapter of Manage Your Manager, where we're diving headfirst into the often murky waters of office politics. Today we're breaking down what office politics actually means and why pretending it doesn't exist might be the biggest career mistake you're making. Let's get into it. About 1 in 3 employees say they don't know how decisions really get made where they work. You're in the meeting, the boss is nodding, but a week later, the project dies silently. The email looked perfect, so whose quiet no killed it? That invisible layer is today's topic. Only about 30% of people say they know how to navigate their company's decision makers, yet almost everyone is affected by those decisions every day. That gap is where office politics live. Not just in gossip or backroom deals, but in who gets early information, who's asked for quick input before a meeting, and whose ideas keep resurfacing until they finally get approved. Office politics have a bad reputation because we mostly notice them when they're weaponized. Credit stealing, quiet blocking, performative agreeing. But there's a quieter, constructive side. The people who connect feuding teams, translate leadership's goals into workable plans, and make sure the right problems get attention. Today, we'll dig into how to spot these patterns early, especially when you're new, remote, or outside the usual social circles, and how to participate without losing your integrity. Here's the tricky part. The official org chart almost never matches the real flow of influence. The VP on paper might be less critical than the veteran IC everyone consults before making a move. And in hybrid or remote setups, that gap widens. Some conversations happen in Slack channels you're not in, some in side calls you're never invited to. Decisions might be shaped by a quick hallway chat, a customer escalation, or a data point someone quietly drops into a deck like a seed that later drives strategy. That's the terrain you actually work in, whether or not anyone names it. If the org chart is the map you were handed, the real game is learning the terrain underneath it, motivations, fears, and unwritten rules. That starts with one question. What does winning look like for the people around me? For your manager, winning might be hitting quarterly numbers, being seen as a team builder, or proving a new strategy works. For a staff engineer, it might be technical prestige or protecting a clean architecture. For a project manager, reliability and predictability. Notice how often conflicts make more sense when you see them as collisions between different versions of winning, not good versus bad people. This is where political skill becomes less about maneuvering and more about translation. You're looking for ways to present your work so it becomes a win in their language. The same proposal can be framed as risk reduction to one leader, innovation to another, and morale building to a third, without changing the underlying work. Next layer down is timing. A good idea offered at the wrong moment can quietly die. Calendars and roadmaps tell you what's officially important, but listen for what's emotionally hot. A recent outage, a lost client, a public commitment from an executive. Aligning your ask with whatever leadership is currently anxious or excited about dramatically improves its odds. Then there's coalitions. Instead of asking, how do I convince the VP, ask, whose informal support would make this obvious? That might mean a respected peer who's trusted for their judgment, or a cross-functional partner who can de-risk your idea. You're not building a voting block, you're reducing surprise. Decision makers hate being blindsided. When they see that others they trust have already poked holes in your idea and still support it, you've lowered the perceived risk. Finally, recognize reputation momentum. People rarely judge each action in isolation. They use a running mental average. Consistently being prepared, calm under pressure, and fair in credit sharing creates a reserve of goodwill. When, inevitably, you need to push for something unpopular, you're drawing from that stored credibility instead of starting at zero. At Amazon, bar raisers aren't always the highest title in the room, but everyone knows a project moves faster when they quietly nod yes. That's a clue. In most companies, there are a handful of people whose opinions travel farther than their job descriptions. Watch whose questions reshape the agenda,
whose objections get preemptively answered in decks, and whose casual comments show up later as leadership priorities.
A simple move. When you see someone consistently shape outcomes, ask them for 15 minutes. Don't pitch, inquire. If this initiative succeeds, what will have made the difference? People reveal what the system truly rewards when they talk about success conditions. Another pattern, the glue people. They're the ones others copy on emails just to keep in the loop. They often see cross-team tensions before they explode. Treat them like early warning radar. Test drafts with them, and notice which words they tweak. Those edits are small maps of where hidden resistance lives. Only 30% of employees strongly agree they know how to navigate their company's decision-makers. As AI tools start surfacing who actually shapes outcomes, that number will shift, but not automatically in your favor. Leaders will compare digital traces of collaboration the way coaches review game footage. Who passes the ball? Who hogs it? Who vanishes under pressure? Politics won't disappear. It will just leave clearer fingerprints, rewarding people who match influence with visible, principled behavior. Your challenge this week? Pick one upcoming decision that affects your work. Before anything is announced, quietly map 3 things. 1. Whose opinion will be sought informally beforehand? 2. Who will carry the work afterward? And 3. Who stands to lose status, budget, or control if it goes through? Then, have one short, curiosity-only conversation with someone from Group 2 or 3. What would a good outcome look like for you here? Capture, not fix, their answers. Treat this like learning a new city. At first, you only know the main roads, but side streets and shortcuts appear each time you walk a different route. As you try this week's challenge, notice where your maps feel fuzzy. That's your next exploration zone. Over time, patterns replace guesswork, and you can choose your paths more intentionally. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!